Hello there friends, IEM Cologne is in full swing. Besides the exciting Tier 1 CS action, the scene continues to provide us with loads of content. Today we will discuss a major update in CS2, the new matchmaking system, how the new Cloud9 roster had a fight with Nafany, and much more. Let's get straight to it. First and foremost, let's begin with the main news of the day, a massive update in CS2. Instead of Vertigo and Overpass, we now have Anubis and Ancient. They are simply stunning. Check out the magnificent water on Anubis, those fountains are just gleaming. As for Ancient, I personally like it slightly less with some exposed points and uneven lighting, but let's take it step by step. Of course, we should all pay attention to water. Chickens now can swim, players can swim too, but there seem to be some issues with Molotovs. Sometimes water extinguishes it, but sometimes it do not. But the most significant change is that now you can inspect the C4. So now you can expect that T-side players will run around with the C4 in their hands. I guess we can expect bomb skins in the near future, right? However, the main changes happened under the hood, as data miners have discovered a completely new matchmaking awaits us. While this is not official yet, it's likely to work something like this. You play, get kills, stats, win or lose, and in the end you'll receive something like ELO points. But here your rank can vary from 0 to 0.35, so the game will be in fractions. Again, this is all unofficial and more of the community speculation, but this info comes from data miners. They also found hints of seasons with a separate ranking for the best players by regions, where you can check win rates and stats of the world's best players. Currently, it is speculated that there will be only 2 seasons, something like spring and fall. Perhaps the best players will receive bonuses like cases or something else. Additionally, data miners found training courses for newcomers. So if you're new to CS, you can practice against bots on specific maps and perhaps even train together with other newcomers. In short, Valve is working towards attracting a new audience, so that any of your friends can jump into the game from scratch and understand everything right away. And this is all they found in just one morning. I'm sure there will be more discoveries and bugs and fun things ahead. We essentially have only one map left, which Valve has not yet shown, Inferno. And based on leaked screenshots, it seems like there's a complete overhaul of the map. So there's a chance that by the end of the summer they will finish all of this and release the beta for everyone. Let's wait and see. Now let's move on to the roster shuffles, and here all the rumors about the new Danish lineup have been confirmed again. Preezy has signed Refresh, Nikodos, Altax, Team B and Tops. It's a mix of experience and talent, and something promising could come out of this. The question remains, what will happen to Dupree, Glaive and Zipnix? Is the golden core of Astralis not interesting to anyone, or are they too expensive? We're waiting for them in some new top tier project. In addition to Preezy's team, rumors about Nafany's new team have also been confirmed. Let's welcome the new promising lineup of Nafany, Kayron, Siren, Zorte and Danists. The roster looks quite good, with an experienced captain, a strong AWP and talented riflers. What do you guys think about it? Now on to the next news about TSM. When will they finally announce their team, or will they do it at all? Harumi, the insider, says that the team is no longer practicing together, but it turned out that they were still playing. On the July 28th, they had some matches, but for some reason without a coach. As reported by Bleaks.gg, Extaz no longer represents the team, and the reason for that is quite absurd. TSM didn't pay him for assembling the roster. This was revealed by the founder of Gen 1. TSM doesn't want to pay for the scouting and interviews he did to build this team for a month. They had a verbal agreement, and the team was supposed to meet at a bootcamp, which was eventually cancelled because TSM believes that the bootcamp is only necessary before majors. So Extaz spent weeks assembling this lineup, conducting practice sessions and studying everything, and they didn't even pay him. They just swindled the hard-working guy. In short, TSM now seems more like EG, who do some crazy stuff and then wonder why nothing works. And of course, another esports day, another esports scandal. Suddenly, the whole community jumped on CADIAN. The reason for this was the other day's match against the Mongols. For Heroic, this match proved to be extremely tough. They lost the first map and were trailing 7-13 on the second. They had double overtimes, and only then did the Danes manage to turn the game around on Inferno and secure the victory. In other words, the Mongols were were just one round away from causing a massive upset. But most of the attention was focused on one specific moment. On Overpass, when the score was 4-1, CADIAN won a clutch and let out a shout of excitement. Yeah, big deal. It's just CADIAN, he behaves like that in every match. Plus, he needed to boost the morale of his team because they were already losing in maps. And when Heroic finally won this extremely challenging match for themselves, it became a reason for people to start hating CADIAN. For example, OniPixel, the famous streamer, said the following: "Look, this guy is only 16 years old, he's trying to save the game, and a 40-year-old man is yelling at him. He's used to playing online tournaments from Mongolia, maybe from his parents' house. What's happening, CADIAN?" In the comments, the captain got completely destroyed. Many said that a player with such a name and accomplishments should not behave like that. This led CADIAN to apologize. He said, "I'm very sorry about the trash talk mid-game. I know I'm the only player who still yells at my opponents. However, this was my last time. I'll try to do better." It even reached the organization itself. They responded with a more playful, joking manner. "We apologize for CADIAN's passion yesterday. In the future, this is the only acceptable heroic celebration." Many are even referring to ESL rules, which state that the players must behave respectfully, and if the Mongols had complained about CADIAN's behavior, he could have received a fine of 25% of his winnings. If he won, say, $10,000, he would have given back $2,500 just for shouting noobs at the opponents. Honestly, I'm personally shocked by all of this. So initially, ESL says that they intentionally use opaque glass that becomes transparent at the end of the round so the players interact more, and the president of ESL everywhere says that they want more fire, more emotions, even in the group stage. And then, when CADIAN gives them what they want, people start criticizing him. Guys, why so sensitive? For example, I want all the teams shout at each other, show off, spit, it's cool, it's emotions, it's the part of the show. Imagine your emotions when you will clutch against a player who insulted you through the glass. Or, for example, how Devives waves to everyone after rounds. Just check out how they exchanged glances with G2. Well, at least not everyone in the community is so uptight. Taz took CADIAN's side and said that this is the essence of CS, to shout at the opponent. Or Pimp, who says it's cool, teams are building hype around themselves during the match, and we basically enjoy watching it. So that's the sudden conflict out of nowhere. Friends, what do you think? Has CADIAN crossed all the boundaries, or is it precisely because of this that we love the old pal CADIAN? Write your thoughts in the comments, it will be interesting to read and discuss. The main thing is that he doesn't stop doing it because of ordinary Twitter hate. And now some urgent and important news from Cloud9. AX1LE has finally obtained his visa and will join the team in the playoffs. The only problem is AX1LE's form. Throughout this time he hasn't played with the guys in the tournament, hasn't gained some synergy, form and so on. Usually teams grow during the championships and come to the main stages in optimal form with all players ready. But now it seems like Cloud9 is starting from scratch again. They had just gotten used to playing with Buster and now they have to quickly adapt to the playoffs with AX1LE. Furthermore, they will have to face Vitality, the main favorites of this tournament. Let's see what Electronic says about it in the interview with HLTV. "It was a hard decision, 100%, but I have to move forward. I need this change for my career. This time, for both Navi and I, was the perfect time. I wanted to be in-game leader in Cloud9, there was no chance of keeping Nafany and being a fragger. It was my thoughts that I wanted to be an in-game leader only in that team, except Navi. The second caller will be Shiro, because he wants to make those calls. He has a lot of ideas. But we don't need a lot of voices. When you have a lot of voices, it can be hard for the team, because you don't know what to listen to. I'm trying to give as much freedom as I can. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. They have to ask me if they can do some moves. If I don't agree, they don't do their things. As for the roles where you have to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the team, we will do this together with Hobbit. We played a lot of tournaments, we are ready to do that. The others are still young, they want to make stats, so it's me and Hobbit. It does depend on map, sometimes AX1LE goes first, sometimes Perfecto, even Shiro, but most of the time it's me or Hobbit. What can I say about Shiro and Simple? They're too different. You cannot compare them to each other. But Shiro is a really talented player. I like him a lot as a person and as a player. He has a bright future if he keeps working hard. I've never seen a guy who works as much as he does. I like systems which don't have star players. Anyway, we still have them in AX1LE and Shiro, but our system will be about the team and not star players. Everyone on our team can make a play, could clutch as a star player, and it's not that fair for the others to make Shiro and AX1LE as star players and others to support for them. No, it's not like that in our team, I think. We're here to make our own era. We will do our best to make it, to reach that goal. We have to play with Vitality in the playoffs. They're a new team. They're trying to put Flames into Dupree's roles, but he's not as experienced as Dupree. It's a bit tough for them to make the same things that they did with Dupree. For us, it will be a bit easier to face them with Flames for now, rather than with Dupree. We will see how it's going to work in the future, how many hours we're going to put into our work. If we do put a lot in, maybe 2 to 3 months. If we don't, maybe 6 months. We need to find the best solution of how to build our system, but we will do everything we can to reach that goal. Everyone in the team wants to make their own era. Well, and here's another interesting interview from Electronic that he gave at IEM Cologne. For me, everything changed when I became the captain. It was a bit easier for me to transition into this role because I worked with Blade for a long time. We prepared strategies together and worked on the system. Before that, I played with Zeus, who had his own approach to leadership. Now I can combine all that in the new team. Becoming a captain was challenging because I had to think a lot about CS and how everything would work. Sometimes the team doesn't listen to calls and it makes me furious. I'm very emotional when I play, so I get really upset when my teammates ignore me. I always want to play perfectly, so it brought me a lot of stress in the past. After practices, I would just sit on my bed for 2 or 3 hours and my mind would be overwhelmed with thoughts. How good I am? Am I doing everything right? Will I get better in the future? Especially after the entire internet said, you're bad, you're better be just a player, not an IGL, there are many captains better than you. It was tough. Indeed, Electronic has never given such extensive interviews in his entire career at Na'Vi, and in English too. He laid everything out, and I think now it's much clearer to many people what's going on in the team. But the most interesting part came next. Hobbit also gave a huge interview where he analyzed the problems of the previous roster. In my personal opinion, the problem of the previous roster was that we had a less experienced captain compared to many tier 1 teams. Nafany. When someone who knows more says something, but someone who knows less talks back, there will always be a conflict. Electronic is the only voice in the team, and Shiro helps him. I don't need to participate in the process unless I'm asked or until I'm 100% sure about some action. Right now, we have a honeymoon period. Everyone listens to each other. Let's see how it will be in the future. The process works like this. Electronic calls, Shiro can also call, and Denise agrees or disagrees with it. When I feel some moments, I ask Electronic to do something. That's how it works. Shiro is a true talent. He watches demos like movies. He spends every break analyzing them. He does it not because it's a job, he enjoys it. Understanding CS is in his DNA, he just knows this game. Nafany had a different method, he relies more on character, on creativity. But you need to find the golden mean, I think he will definitely find it. Towards the end he approached it in our roster, but it was firstly not enough, and secondly, unfortunately, a bit too late. The coach, Shiro, and I created the system, and Nafany mostly learned from experience and listened. Perhaps that's why it was difficult for him to manage players during the game. That's where the difficulties came from. Nevertheless, we achieved a lot with Nafany. Every team faces difficulties. We handled ours quite well. Electronic has a great deal of trust and respect. He speaks very wise, understandable, and objective things. Some of the things I didn't even know. He's a person who has won a major, the Intel Grand Slam, and played for Na'Vi. He also won as a captain. My soul and my voice are calm. I need to focus on my game, and there are people to handle the system and tactics. Of course, I still help him with that, but not as much as I did with Nafany. Wow, some revelations from Hobbit. He's basically saying that the main problems with the previous roster were due to Nafany and his lack of experience. And the most important thing is that it really hit Nafany hard. His girlfriend wrote that Hobbit should have kept quiet. As for Nafany, he wrote, "I am not the kind of person who will reveal the team's inner workings and say who is to blame and who is not. But I think it would be fair in this case to say that in the last season, the only tournament for which I built a structure based on at least 4 maps was solely ESL Pro League. By the way, we took 2nd place. I want to emphasize that I hold no grudge against any member of my now former team, but this specifically hurt me. I don't want any drama or anything like that. The current C9 roster is strong and I wish them nothing but success." It turns out to be the first not cool action from Hobbit, right? In general, everyone has their own opinion about the previous roster. Well, what do you guys think? Who is right and who is to blame? Write your thoughts in the comments, as always. I also have a lot of different news about Navi and the upcoming tournaments, but I think I've already dragged this video on for so long, so I'll include all of that in the next one. Now we have to summarize the group stage. Here is the bracket with the results of the teams. As you can see, Vitality, Cloud9, Astralis, G2, ENCE and Heroic advanced to the playoffs. We will talk about these teams in the next episode, since their performance in the tournament is not over yet. But now let's discuss the teams that unfortunately didn't make it to the next stage. Finishing 13th, 16th are Ninjas in Pyjamas, 9, OG and the Mongols. At least 2 of these teams ended up here undeservedly in my opinion. For example, the Mongols, who were just 2 rounds away from defeating the world's top team Heroic with a score of 2-0. If they had secured those 2 map points on Overpass, it would have been Heroic, not them, who are dropped to the lower bracket. They also had a very close match against Gamer Legion, where it all came down to overtimes on the 3rd map. The same can be said about 9. These guys were leading 10-15 on the deciding 3rd map against ENCE, but then gave away an incredible comeback. In the lower bracket, they lost to Cloud9, even though they were leading 15-14 on the deciding 3rd map again. 2 very close matches that, with a little luck, could have ended in their favor. Also, their Vertigo is probably one of the best in the world at the moment. Now, a few words about the teams that deservedly ended up here. Looking at the results alone, Ninjas in Pyjamas had the weakest performance in the tournament. They won only 1 of 5 played maps, Mirage with a 16-14 score against struggling FaZe. They lost the other maps with very devastating scores, not showing much to be honest. Overall, as their coach mentioned, the team shows extremely inconsistent results and they haven't managed to overcome this problem yet. And finally, the last team, OG. It's hard to criticize them since only Fiku remained from the previous roster and the other 4 guys joined recently. You know, it's also all new for Nexa. Despite this, the guys managed to give a tough fight against Navi, losing to them 2-1, and also put up a close fight against Vitality on Anubis. I think Nexa is a good captain, and with time, OG will be able to please their fans with better results. Moving on, we have teams that finished 9th, 12th, and these are Mouse, Monte, FaZe and Fnatic. Let's start with Mouse and Fnatic. Both teams made 2 roster changes including captains, and both teams performed well in the play-in and in the starting matches of the main stage in Cologne. Fnatic started with a victory over Cloud9 and Mouse confidently defeated Navi 2-0. But then their performance somehow declined sharply. Mouse didn't show anything against Vitality, winning only 9 rounds in 2 maps and then lost without a fight to seemingly equal in strength Astralis. Fnatic also looked unconvincing against ENCE and Gamer Legion. It seems that these teams could have achieved better results, honestly, so it will be interesting to watch them in the future. Moving on, we have Monte. These guys lost their key shooter, Boros, but in this tournament they proved that their success was not solely dependent on him. Monte easily defeated Gamer Legion and also showed a close fight against strong teams like Heroic and Cloud9. Who knows, maybe if they faced slightly weaker teams, they could have made it to the playoffs. And the last team in this compilation is FaZe Clan. The best team of the previous year continues to face difficulties, this time due to departure of their analyst and coach simultaneously. The veteran player Kerrigan had to carry the entire tactical aspect of the team alone, which of course is impossible, and it couldn't go unnoticed in the results. Hopefully, with Neo taking on the role of a coach, the tactical gaps will be filled, and FaZe's star-studded roster will once again delight their fans opponents with new victories. And finally, we have the last two teams finishing 7th, 8th place, Na'Vi and Gamer Legion. It's very disappointing to stop just one step away from the playoffs, but still, it's a decent result for both teams. Na'Vi went through 3 roster changes, switched to English as their main language, and despite that they almost made it to the playoffs, losing in a super close match against AX1LE. I believe that Na'Vi is developing rapidly and can soon start competing consistently with the top teams, especially if IEM continues to shine as he did in Gamer Legion. Speaking of GL, these guys really exceeded expectations. The team lost their 2 most crucial players, Captain Siyuhi and star player IEM. And after their first match against Monte, it seemed like the team was struggling to recover. However, with their victories against Fnatic and the Mongols, they proved otherwise. In the decisive match for the playoffs against Cloud9, Gamer Legion even managed to make an incredible comeback, pushing it to overtimes from a 10-15 score on the deciding 3rd map. And well, my friends, that's all for now. Before you is the playoff bracket with the upcoming matches. We will soon continue to enjoy some great stuff, and in the meantime, please share your thoughts on who will become the champion of IEM Cologne 2023. Don't forget to hit that like button and sub to my channel, I will be very grateful. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time though. See you soon.